Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Class 1A video. Today we are going to be diving into our spoiler-free thoughts on the World Heroes Mission movie. We were lucky enough to head over to LA this past weekend and see the North American premiere a couple days before it comes out in theaters. So we wanted just to break down our general thoughts, what do you need to know going into the movie, and our recommendations or where we kind of rank this movie compared to the last couple. So you guys are fully prepared going into this movie this weekend, which does come out on this Friday. So Dylan, I just want to jump right into it. I don't want to have too much of an opener. What did you think? We were lucky enough to kind of go down and see it. I'm so happy we got to see it right away in the theater. But where does this movie kind of end up for you? What are your thoughts on it?
So overall, I think this movie is a pretty ranks pretty highly amongst the movies for me. I think the movie like theater experience itself really lended itself really well to it. A doubly so because it was the premiere. We had like cosplayers there too, which was really cool. So like the vibes were immaculate.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, so I know, at least for how we talk about it, we know that Heroes Rising is always kind of down there. And for me, this is very on par with, I'm sorry, Two Heroes is very far down there. And Heroes Rising and World Heroes Mission is still kind of vibing for that first spot for me. I don't know exactly which one's going to end up being number one for me, but it's definitely on par with that movie or greater, depending on what you're exactly looking for it. And I thought, yeah, I agree. Going to the theaters, I feel like more than the other movies, this is definitely one where you want to get the theater experience. I feel like with Heroes Rising, it's kind of a very predictable story where you know where it's going to end up. So even if you're watching it home, it still kind of has that building. For this one, being in the theater, I definitely think added a lot to it, and I'd highly recommend going and seeing it. Probably opening weekend or one of the first opening weekends if you can, where there's going to be large audiences with it because the reactions, even the person yelling Aaron Yeager going into the opening sequence, that all added and made me enjoy the movie much more. So it definitely does feel like a theater, something you should go see in the theater if you can.
Yeah, it's a hype movie. It's hype. It's funny. It does like basically everything it should do pretty well. So like we rank Two Heroes pretty low because like the fights are okay. They're not super great in there, and then it also just like breaks a lot of canon stuff. It makes like trying to like take in the world in a reasonable way very very hard. And this doesn't break anything really, and so it feels good because you finish the movie and you're like, well, they didn't mess anything up, right? Because like Heroes Rising,
Yeah.
yeah, still like introduced a little like you have to kind of squint a little bit at the screen to like kind of like make everything work. But this was just like it happened. It was fine, and it was hype. So like
Yeah.
overall, it was just a really solid movie.
It was a completely contained experience, which the other two
Hmm.
movies feel like they haven't, where they could have had a bigger impact on the canon. Completely contained, and you really didn't need to know too much going into it. We'll be breaking down exactly what you need to know going into the movie to make sure nothing's confused. But I felt like it's if you just came in and watched this movie, even not knowing much about My Hero Academia, you absolutely could and still enjoy it. It is just a fun movie to go to. But also, if you are the big My Hero Academia fan, it's had a lot of cool moments, that has a lot of cool moves that kind of make you enjoy characters even more as well. So I think no matter how into My Hero Academia you are, it is going to be a completely enjoyable movie experience for you. So
Yeah, there was like a ton of like moments of like just like little cameos too that you'll pick out if you really know your stuff, you'll be able to find like little tiny cameos that are pretty cool.
yeah. And I guess just kind of getting to more of the actual movie parts. Again, still not spoiling anything, but obviously the main kind of side character we've seen in a lot of promotional materials is Rody. And I think the relationship between Rody and Deku was fantastic. It was kind of, and not, I wouldn't want to say it a buddy cop movie, but kind of gives that vibe of where they don't
Yeah.
instantly connect. And then it's just overall a very good energy between those two where I'm like, well, I just want to see more Bakugo. I want to see more Todoroki. Like, I want to see the characters we know because we already have such a large cast. But no, introducing this new character didn't really ruin the movie for me at all. It definitely added more to it. So I love their relationship. And it was just a great payoff overall for that. So I think they did that really well, which could have been messed up because this movie does have a huge cast of known characters from UA, from Class 1A, from Class 1B, from Pro Heroes, from even Pro Heroes we've never heard of before. It's a giant cast. The fact that they managed all that and introduced a new major character, phenomenal.
Yeah, so what I think they did poorly in Two Heroes was most of the shield, like playing off of Deku and being a cool like dynamic there. They did that poorly. And like if all those failings there kind of like led up to this being good, I feel like they looked at that and why it didn't work. And then they were able to make it work really well in this of like two characters that are pretty different, different like approaches to things. and they just like are really funny together. Like
Yeah.
there's like most of the movie is them, and it's just funny scenes throughout, and it leads up to like more dramatic stuff. But like I don't know, I think using the term buddy cop actually does work perfectly here because I was thinking that the whole time too.
Yeah. And I agree. It's everything with that. I mean, I'm a big Melissa Shield fan, but I do agree that how she was used in the movie wasn't correct. But I mean, again, in the movie just had a little bit of a different tone. I mentioned to you is right after we saw the premiere. But while it still had predictable moments, I didn't exactly know how the movie was going to end. Like I had an idea of obviously at the end of the day the world's gonna be saved because this happens during the Endeavor arc. So like it had to be a very contained experience. So you know in the end that Deku's going to end up winning, but I didn't know exactly how that was going to be. While in the other two movies, you kind of had an idea of what was going to happen the entire time. Here, there were moments I'm like, oh, maybe something else could happen that I wasn't really expecting. So the movie does do a better job of keeping you on your toes a little bit. Still, it's still going to be a My Hero Academia movie. You still generally know the direction it's going to go, but it still did feel a little bit more surprising moments than other movies have.
Hmm.
So, I guess the one other thing that I want to call out here too is there's two musical moments in the movie, which like I know you kind of saying a lot more anime movies are doing this. It felt so weird for My Hero Academia, but at the same time I loved it. All the music in this movie absolutely slapped. I loved it, and it added to making it feel like a different movie than what I was expecting going in. But it also adds to more of kind of why you should go in the theaters because again, it just isn't what I was expecting going in, but I still enjoyed it a shit ton when I came out.
Yeah, so to explain what this is for people who might not know, essentially it's the part of a movie of where it's like a more or less like a montage, and there's like a big musical number, and like the lyrics will appear on screen, and so that's what happened here. And this, like, if you watch any like modern like anime movie, they always have one scene that's like this, and they put that into this movie, which it feels off when it happens because you're like, wait a second, my hero doesn't do this. This is really weird. But it's overall it's good. Like it doesn't take away from it. It's just like, oh, that's a weird thing to include.
Yeah, and and even the animation, I think it was the last thing I really want to touch on for this is it was phenomenal. There was one moment where I thought it was a little funky, but Dylan, you didn't even notice it. I think you have a better eye for animation than I do, so maybe it was just what my personal preference was. But the animation, there were some moments that are absolutely ridiculous, but the overall battle animation looks fantastic throughout the way. So many characters you love, they all look great. Couple new costumes. I mean, overall, I thought the animation was done really, really well. That hasn't really been an issue in any of the movies before, but I think of this one specifically, really good animation. Felt like a different couple animation styles. I even saw a couple of recap tweets of someone else was there, kind of calling out where it's very clear of who did what animation parts. If you
Yeah.
know the are the what's the name of those? His Horikoshi's assistants or
Or it's the key animators for
key
Bones.
animators. Thank you.
Yeah, like there is like I think like 2 or 3 like really good key animators there that have a very distinct style. And even like like during its fights, they'll like switch cameras to different parts of the fight and you'll go, "Oh, that's this person. I know who this is who's animating it." Like really beautiful fights, I would say. They really emphasize not on like the I don't know what I would call it, like fist or like appendages or whatever, like hitting other people. It's a lot more like scaled back, like explosions, fire, ice, like these bigger moves that have bigger impacts on the environment. Using that and like the animations behind that were really, really incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think we're talking positively about it because I do have a couple of gripes with this movie. But when you're doing a spoiler free review, it's really hard to get into what those gripes are. I think they are some of the issues with this movie are issues that are with My Hero Academia series as a whole and kind of how they portray some characters. So I think it doesn't add any new issues. It doesn't expand. It doesn't cause new problems. But it's just things that like, hey, if they would have done this different, or they would have been a little bit more true to this character, it would have been a little better. But overall, it is a great movie, and it's again no difference in the issues that other movies have. Villain may could have been fleshed out a little bit more. This could have been done a little better. Like those kind of issues we've talked about in the last two movies. That when we do our full spoilers review of this, we'll dive into those really deep. But again, it's not a perfect movie. We just can't talk about our issues we have with it without spoiling things. That would defeat the entire purpose of this video. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, I mean, overall, like we started at the lowest point, I think, for My Hero movies. Like, I don't want to say Two Heroes is unwatchable. It's a good movie. It's enjoyable, but like my preference is that we don't think about it as canon sometimes. And then like slowly over time, I feel like they're getting better and they're like grabbing more of what it means to be a My Hero movie. It's not quite there. there's like a couple more steps I feel like we need to take for them to be like like purely solid and really good. But like at the end of the day, it's a good movie. It doesn't ruin My Hero at all. It's a positive experience, I would say.
I agree. So I guess with that kind of wrapping up most of our general thoughts, but going into the actual movie, I just want to. So there's going to be a joint training arc spoiler here of what you need to know. Pretty much, like I was saying earlier on, you could come in and it's not really knowing much as a My Hero Academia fan, and if you don't care about things kind of surprising you, you can go in. You don't need to really have any background information to enjoy this movie. But if you are still watching season 5, I would recommend watching up through joint training arc because a huge spoiler coming up right here. So turn it off like the next minute if you don't want to hear it. But in the joint training arc, we obviously are introduced to Black Whip, and Black Whip is used heavily in this movie. So if you don't want to have a major point that Deku can have multiple quirks spoiled for you, do not go into this before watching through season 5. So I guess I'll timestamp it here. I'll kind of go back to it. But again, watch the first 8 episodes of season 5 of My Hero Academia if you do not want anything spoiled for you. If you are through that part, you can watch the rest of this movie and be completely fine. But if you do, you may be confused and have a big moment of season 5 ruined for you. Outside of that, you're clean and good. If you're caught up to the series, you're good. You don't need to have any other readings. You don't need to have anything like that. You can just go in and completely enjoy it. Or you can bring a friend, your girlfriend, friend, anything like that knows nothing about the series, and they'll enjoy this movie as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a split between like if you know nothing about My Hero, you'll enjoy it. And if you know a little bit about it, you'll go, wait a second. What is that ability he's using and be a little bit confused, but obviously if you're totally caught up, you're fine. Because the issue with the second movie is towards the end, like 9, like he looks at Deku and he's like, there's multiple quirks in here or something like that, right? And you're like, wait, hold up a second, what? It kind of spoils like basically like the Black Whip reveal, like a little bit, like it still has the impact, but like the movie like kind of spoiled that like little fact about One for All. But like this movie doesn't, because like the time that it comes out, I think it came out in the summer, like in Japan, right? And so that would have been after the Black Whip reveal anyway. So they even timed up their like information reveal really well with this one, like even better than the last one.
Yeah. So just again, so it can be for clean for spoilers, I'll put another timestamp here. You just need to watch the first episode, 8 episodes of My Hero Academia season 5, and you're good to go. After that, everything else is going to be phenomenal. You're going to completely enjoy this movie. So to wrap up this video, we both agree, go see it. I mean, this is not a 2-hero situation, obviously. Go see it, and if you can see it opening weekend or the first 2 weeks, we highly recommend it. It's going to make your experience so much better. Is there anything you want to add with that, Dylan?
No, I would definitely recommend it. And like I said, this is ranking up to like a top tier My Hero movie, so definitely see it in theaters.
I agree. It's my number 1 or my number 2. I think after my second watch through, it'll kind of solidify where it's going to end up for me. But again, we'll be doing a full spoiler deep dive into it in a couple weeks. Ideally, once James can see it and we can watch through it all together and talk through it. But until then, this is all we have for today. We hope you guys enjoyed the movie so much. It's a phenomenal experience. And again, more My Hero Academia content is always amazing. So we'll see you all next time. Hope you guys enjoyed the movie. And if you did, let us know on your thoughts in this video below, or hit us up on Twitter after you see the movie with what you thought. We'd love to answer questions and discuss everything there is about the movie. But we'll see you guys all next time.